Good afternoon. It's live at 5 with Will and Dill, and it's going to be a doozy, boys and girls. It's been a big day at the office in the fitness world. We both work in the health and fitness industry, and madly passionate in helping people. And today we're going to discuss just what it means to build and to be part of a community that is willing to build you up and to jump on board with what you believe in, and also just about kind of how to slowly get rid of the poison.
Amen.
Well, what's been happening on your side, man? How's your day been so far, buddy?
All good, man. All good. My training group's on a new block of training. They're all swinging a kettlebell. I'm not quite sure where they are, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
They're smashing it, which is fun. I'm doing a lot just on personal development today, mate. It's been busy, and there's been a lot, as you said, there's been a lot going on. A lot of people sending, asking information where I think people aren't looking at the bigger picture. So we're going to discuss, like you said, about how to go about it.
Absolutely.
How things your end, man? It's
been good, man. I was fortunate enough to just go for a lovely walk, kind of planned 19-minute walk with my daughter, and that's always just been a great opportunity just to kind of get away from the craziness of the world. I think I feel massively, fortunate and blessed to be in a place like Singapore at the moment where I can still walk out in the streets quite comfortably and just get on with it.
Got a lot of reverb apparently, Dill boy.
Yeah, I got a lot of reverb. You're getting reverb. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on 1 second, sorry, mate. Is it because of this? Am I still reverbing badly?
A little bit, yeah. My side.
I wonder what it is.
No, I think we're all good again, man.
I can definitely hear it. Not sure if it's this new technology that's in front of me.
Too posh for him, good, mate.
Jeez, proper. Let's just do something quickly. If I can. Is it still bad?
I've got you, yeah.
Okay. Is that better?
I think so, yeah. I think it's all right on my side.
I don't know what's doing that. Yeah, so anyway, coming back onto the point of digging deeper into what's happening on a global level, and just obviously just to start this conversation, guys, those who are watching, we're not professionals at assessing the global climate and what's happening around the world, etc. This is just our viewpoints and how we feel about it, and we're not going to delve too deep into political stuff at all. That's not the kind of go-to for today at all. We're going to basically just talk about building a community and establishing a strong network of people around you with a similar mindset.
Yeah, it's all about bigger picture thinking, isn't it? It's not about how you say, we're not politicians, and what our job is to build communities where we are and make sure people have the ability to push forward, rather than talking about minutiae. That's nothing that we can affect. Like you said, we can only affect what's going to happen in front of us. And I think what people are doing away from what we're talking about is not our wheelhouse, man. So like we said, it's definitely about building people up at the moment.
Yeah, and so coming on to our first topic, what are kind of things that you are looking into, kind of even before you've built your community and your kind of tribe around you? What are elements that hold strong to you that you look for in certain individuals, Will?
I think the main thing that I look for are people that are going to push me in the right direction, but in a positive manner. Usually are the same mindset and action. rather than it being a case of opinion. Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
So you investing time and money and into being in communities that are going to help you and build you up, whether it's physical, mental, social, nutritional, whatever it is going to be the most important thing. From my standpoint, I always like to be in a cage where I'm the smallest lion in the room. That's always my ethos is if I'm a big fish in a small pond, I'm in the wrong pond, man. I like people that want to push me. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Coming off have run a gym in the past, I think what we tried to do, or at least what I tried to do in the beginning, was starting off at kind of, ground roots level. Kind of the people I was hiring was important. And if anyone knows anything about CrossFit, Tanjong Pagar, it was a phenomenal place, man. And I think everyone that kind of walked in through those doors definitely felt the energy and the love of the community. And it definitely started at kind of at the coaching level, and then it just kind of fingered out into the rest of the community. So a lot of the coaches that I had there, I would say most were definitely my friends, and I think that was quite important. And then off that, obviously, I was hoping that I was a decent judge of character in choosing people that were very like-minded, first of all. And then, thinking about people that wanted to work across, they first obviously wanted to work there. A lot of them were members before as well, so they knew what we stood for. And I think when someone wants to work where they train as well, after a while, there should be something quite good that's going on. So I think it's paramount that you build it from base level up. And I think it also boils down to that big element of between a boss and a leader. I think that's quite important as well, and the difference between
absolutely,
and how that can
actions speak louder than words, mate. In that situation, mate. Hold on, I'm gonna get off Instagram Live and come back on. It's not allowing me to load you in, mate.
Okay. The big talk has been giving us some interesting. Are you getting reverb still, bro?
Yeah. No, not as much. No.
Okay.
Go back in again. There you go. Whoosh whoosh.
There we go.
Get back in.
Dougal. Nice. Okay, your boys are in.
The Dougler.
Oh, he's next week. I've got to capture him with the date still.
Okay. Back in. Can you hear me on?
I think we're good. Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Boom.
So
yeah, man. Like you said about before, about how your actions speak louder than words in an environment, regardless of what it is. So your intent, your content, how you deliver yourself is massively important. And I think especially in these times now, where a lot of people are guarded and a lot of people are perception is everything at the moment, especially because we're in such a negative environment and a lot of people are out of control. And I think one thing that I've found massively important in a community is actually people that want to be happy. I think a lot of people, there's a niche community which they look for the negatives in life, and perception, I said, perception is everything. Whereas if your glass is half full rather than half empty, usually the people you hang about with and the communities that you roll around in are going to build you up and make you a bigger, better, faster, stronger person, rather than being in a downward spiral of negativity and giving you the ability not to be in a positive position. And that's where I'm funny with people that I associate myself with. If you're in my circle, you're my brother or sister. If you're not in my circle, you're not in my circle. I'm that sort of person for that reason, because my emotional health and spiritual health is extremely important to me, in both sides of the coin. I'm not sure what your views are on that, but there's a few people you'll know that will be in that category, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think, starting off, you really have to be careful with how you're influenced by social media. Especially at the moment, you know, a lot of people are sitting around at home, really consumed by kind of what's going on their phones and you know, on social media and through the rest of the world. And I think not in a judgmental way, a lot of people aren't making up their own minds for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm kind of reading 500 posts about something that happened, more than likely it's going to have a massive influence on how I make up my opinion of something as well.
Yeah.
So one, still staying true to yourself is going to be imperative, and you know, understanding that and getting the full picture about things as well. I think that's going to be there's a big one as well. Hearing the story from both sides, and this is in no way defending Mr. Glassman at the moment. I don't even go down that line. That's nothing to do with that. I'm just making up your own mind.
General points. Yeah.
Yeah, with your own judgments and not, you know, getting massively influenced by anyone else. All right. Coach Mel says hello. Hi, Coach.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Coach.
From you, Coach.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Captain J-Bot says, so what are you guys actually saying?
What we're saying is that in this current time and period, there's a lot of information being thrown around that whether it's got context or not, people have to be super careful about what they say, because people aren't in an emotional headspace to make as many rational decisions. So if you're going off like a shotgun and saying things, not understanding your ramifications, then things could go in a downward spiral. Now, what me and Dylan are expressing is the bigger picture. It's not about today. Today, what happened today was something important to a lot of people that are involved in a huge community. That even though I wouldn't say I'm a CrossFitter, I would like to think I've got a CrossFit mentality in the respect of everybody who I know who does it's a weapon in the best possible way. They don't judge me. They always build a community of being a better person, and they want the better for you. What we're saying is we are not politicians on the subject, and that we're not trying to give our rightful saying about who, what's, and where's. What we're trying to say is, before this happened, there's countless amount of people that we know that are being influenced and asking us questions that are not related to their current situation, and they're using other people's viewpoints to formulate their decisions. And what we're saying is, for you to be an active member of society that's going to be positive, is you have to start thinking for yourself. You have to start putting actions and words in the same place, rather than it being a one size fits all. Because the best coach in the world is going to say it depends, and anybody in a positive community will say it's dependent on what you're doing. That's what I think what me and Bill are trying to stand for. As it's important at the moment to be united in something that's bigger than just yourself.
Yeah, 100%, man. And read multiple posts today, and yeah, as I come back to my point about being influenced, and it's just, for me, it was just more kind of reminding me of, you know, and resonated with me a lot, you know, some of the heartfelt posts about, you know, why we even exercise and why we do sport, and those elements, you know, the bonding, the unity, the like-mindedness, you know, just everything that kind of sport creates. It's so much deeper than just us going out there and, you know, beating ourselves up on the floor, whatever it might be. And this is any sport, whether it be rugby, you're building that brotherhood. You know, so it's a tough one. But coming off this, I think there's going to be a whole new wave of functional fitness kind of competitions. And, you know, maybe the time is just right.
Maybe. It's going to be the next, I think globally, the fitness industry is taking an absolute pummeling about what it stands for currently. Because a lot of things don't actually matter. When you look at like at the moment, there's an epidemic happening that's literally crippling the world. So the people's fortitude of what fitness is now changed. I mean, I'm reading, again, Simon Sinek's book, What's Your Why? And he talks about, people don't remember, forgive me if I butcher this, people don't remember what you do, they remember why you do it. And that's where I think this, I like to think that's the same as a community, is that what's your community giving to you to give you an identity? I resonate with athletic people because I was once a professional athlete. Now I'm a professional coach, and I know the work ethic and the characters that I'm going to meet in that space. I don't necessarily do my exercise because I love deadlifting. I know what it does to my body and I know what I can get out of it, blah, blah, blah. But the people that I roll about with are way more important. The cool people that I've trained with, the people that I've massively, I've got after I've done a workout, I've gone on the piss with, had the best night outs ever. Those are what you remember. It's the whole community, not the minutia one-time detail that you resonate as someone who's in the fitness industry at the moment, for sure.
Yeah. I'm just going back through the messages. I got a question from TRNZ97, whoever this is, sorry. Thoughts on athletes withdrawing from the games? And interestingly, I had a little thought about this because I hope I don't bite my tongue here, but I think it is quite a good year to withdraw. And not to say that it can never be easy to withdraw from a CrossFit game, especially how much work you've put in. I know these athletes are absolutely just putting themselves through the ringer day in, day out, even just to qualify for the CrossFit Games. But, I think if you're going to withdraw, I know a lot of guys have just kind of said they're not going to do the CrossFit Games unless something happens about it. And it's an interesting one because it just could be like, I just feel like the CrossFit Games this year wouldn't have been the real deal because of our current situation, right? So it would have been like the best of America, hypothetically. Going forward, there's no kind of clarification on who's going to be able to travel. Still none of the borders are open. So, you take all those things into account. And I think they should, if they're able just to cancel it, we might just see them canceling the CrossFit Games this year. Because I know many of the guys, and who now you see there's like a lot of guys that are going to still go, or they still want to go to the CrossFit Games. But if you're going to go there, and I think it's top 30 athletes, and 10 of the best aren't there, you're like, well, this is not really gonna, where's the motivation to go and compete then, right? When it's not the real deal. So
the same with the Olympics, isn't it? They've done the same thing.
Same situation. Is they're probably just going to boycott the CrossFit Games this year. And now with all the big sponsorships pulling out, I think they're going to hold their contracts till the end of the year. That's what they said they're going to do, Rogue and Reebok. And we're going to see. It's a massive change, right? It's kind of I would say the second biggest day in CrossFit probably since Ricky Garrard got announced for getting caught. That's a joke. But when last was CrossFit so big, right? I mean, my wife, and she's been around CrossFit for probably, I think, 8 to 9 years. I've been probably doing, I was a joke. I've been doing CrossFit for more years than most people that are doing CrossFit now couldn't even spell CrossFit when I started doing CrossFit. And she even knows about the news, and she doesn't get involved in CrossFit, and that's just awesome. It's been great like that. So it's definitely doing its rounds on a global standard. What kind of impact is it going to have in all sports? If they're probably there's a glassman in many types of sports. So let's see what happens. Let's see what Owen said. Owen said new sports, strength and conditioning with handstands and gymnastics. And climbing ropes.
I think you got a winner there, mate. You could take over, I reckon.
Let's become a fireman.
Let's become a fireman. Yeah, mate. I think it's in currently, like I said, in the big scheme of the world at the moment, the issue is that sport has then now been derived as not the most imperative either job or desired trait. I mean, if you look to the world now, the most important people are people that work in services, people that are in hospitals, people that are put in the police force, people that are in whatever. They are actually they're trying to help the community actually fight through an epidemic that it has been crippling the world. Now, as a sportsman myself, not that I'm into CrossFit, I fight. I mean, I deal with a lot of fighters. All of them have lost their time on the mat, and they've lost. I mean, I couldn't go to Worlds this year, and whatever. People have been affected in many different ways. But that's when it comes down to what we've talked about. This community is actually having people in your corner who you can resonate with, because it's not just about the fight, or not just about when you go to the gym, or not when it's everything else that comes with it. I mean, there's people that you'll speak to, like we on our Friday sessions, like you have guys in SA that you probably haven't seen in years, but you are emotionally attached to them because you've been an athlete with them in some regard. That is a bigger bond as a human where we are now than you saying, well, I did whatever, man, I did DT with you, whatever, this workout with you. That's what I'm trying to get away with people, is that people are not, it's putting it into context about the bigger picture. That's what I want. That's everything at the moment. Someone's written a big one.
Yeah.
That sort of leads on to why when people are poisonous in your tribe or your community. I mean, I've just done a massive, like you sent me a video about business, and the big thing about business is when someone is poisonous in a business is get them out. And I'm very much that from a friend standpoint, from a relationship standpoint, is the minute someone says that you've changed, that relationship is over, because that means you've outgrown each other.
Cutting the chaff,
and that's big. Cutting the chaff, boss. And I think that's where I like to think that I'm very guarded on who I let into my emotional circle, because it's that important.
Yeah. And, this is obviously going to get quite deep now, but in the past, have there been circumstances where you've had to do that, and what have the ramifications been?
I've done that in rugby teams many a time. Because I was a captain.
Yeah.
I've a prime example is I've been on both sides of the coin. I've coached rugby at a good standard, and I've played rugby at a good standard. And in both times, I've had to cut people for reasons that is, whether it's emotional well-being of my other players or teammates, or if I'm a captain, I'll take decisions away from people that are going to affect others. That's where I found was massive for the good of the cause. A big one in my life is that I was in a toxic relationship, and it nearly got me killed, basically, in a nutshell. And it all came to a front. But if I knew in my deepest hearts of hearts that should have been done years before it was. So it's a very hard decision to make, but you'll know in your gut feeling is that it's not right. And that's whether it's with friends, whether it's with a relationship, whether it's with your job, whether it's with, I don't know, a community that you're involved with that doesn't meet your values. It doesn't matter what it is. The sensation of that you're in an environment that's going to make you grow, and that's going to have your back, and that's going to look after you when you're down, and you're going to look after them when they're up. I think that goes alongside of a lot of different situations that you're going to go through in everyone's lifetime. And that's probably why I'm so guarded with it. I think personally, because I was in a toxic relationship that literally brought me to my knees at one point. Whereas now I'm in an amazing relationship with a weapon of a woman. So I'm good, but from a big point of view,
bigger calves than you.
Yeah, she's got bigger calves than me. Do you know the worst thing is, boss? I had Kev from 98 sending me calf raising exercises yesterday. Just going, mate, your calf is shit.
Hitting that pain point, eh?
And mate, no one talks about my bicep vein. I've now got a bicep vein, but no one says brother's got good calves. Popping. Owen just said it probably brought the communities like rugby and CrossFit close because of the shared stance against toxic beliefs. Absolutely. A belief system is you could go super philosophical on that kind of stuff, man. I'm a big believer. On a community will raise someone to the highest of heights, but it also breaks somebody. But that's when you've got to understand what's the bigger purpose of it. is the big one.
Yeah.
And that's
Coming back
my
to
take on.
to our point about cutting the chaff, right? And running a company for 4 years was interesting, and there were moments where we had to let go of some people for certain reasons. I'm not going to delve into that. This is not the place and time for that. But I think what you need to understand is you often need to extract the emotion out of it, because people make massive calls and potentially things they would really regret later when under emotional situations that they can't handle, for one. And then also, another thing I can think of is, off just the top of my head, is I've been lucky enough to have some great mentors over the last couple of years, and it's always going to them and before making those heavy decisions, like getting rid of someone, or potentially that person's just not cut out for that community and that job, is just getting some sound advice from them, from the experiences they've had and over the years. So
Yeah.
the big one is to reach out to people. Don't be proud. And everyone at one time in their life had to reach out to someone that they trusted and has potentially had the experience already. And then just go with your decision. Once you've made your decision, you're going to have to just go with it, and you take the consequences, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good book from James Clear called Legacy, which was a business book that followed the All Blacks, and their massive point of theirs was the red mindset and a blue mindset. A blue mindset being someone who's calm and collected under an emotional situation, and a red mindset, which is someone that's reactive to a situation. And people that know me personally, or have seen the state of my face, I had a red reactive mindset for a long period of time in rugby, man. I would go out of my way to get into fights because I was emotional. Now people who know me, and through a lot of education and, like you said, mentoring and actually learn from fighting, is about being more calm and collected and making business and intellectual decisions that are rationalized by your actions. And I mean, like, be daring, be different, be decisive. Once you've made a decision and your gut's saying that's the right thing, then that's going to be massively important, because it's tough, man. I mean, like you said, from a business standpoint or friend standpoint, telling someone that you no longer want to be part of their life, or no longer want them to be part of your crew is, you could feel it. It's alienating, because but you have to understand that it's for the better cause. And it doesn't matter what situation you're in, whether you're in a gym, whether it's about your family, whether it's about whatever standpoint, whatever communities you're in, is the understanding of why you're there, how it serves you, and then if someone's not meeting the demands of that. It's a leader that can take that and use that decision for the better good of the people, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Couldn't agree more. It's it's tough situations and sleepless nights at times. But that's exactly it, right? What you got to think about doing is you're optimizing your environment, and sometimes you just need to make those the real shitty calls, right? And that's why people are put in positions of leadership, and it comes with a massive responsibility at times. I see Meg Lovegrove just joined us. I would love to hear what she has to say about this.
In the mix.
See if she'll respond.
I had someone have this conversation last week, and they actually were talking to me about how do they go about it, because the people they're associated with them now didn't reflect their values. And the thing that I find is honesty and being straight up as possible usually dissolves any emotional behavior that's going to come back at you. So people can kick off at you if you're beating around the bush because you're not making a valid point. If you're straight and narrow with the situation and you just tell them how it is, at first it feels kind of awkward, but once it's done, it's done. And that's the big one that I find. If you've got someone who is toxic or poisonous in your environment, you need to deal with that as fast as possible to not give them as much pain as possible, because it's
Yeah,
important.
no, that's a massive one. I think the longer you ride it out, just the worse it gets, because that's when your emotions start ruling you, and that could lead to devastation, man, for everyone. 100% agreed. Yeah.
It takes a lot. People will think I'm saying that out of just because I'm being a hard ass. I'm not. I know that it's tough. I've told friends that I'm not. I don't want to be a part of them. I've told clients that I no longer want to work with them. I've told, as I said, I've been in relationships that I've had to lose everything to realize how to do it. People, it's not easy, and people need to understand. You need to relate, but that's where it all circles back to having someone in your corner, and whether you've got a coach or whether you've got a mentor or whether you have a very strong parental figure that can take that for you. It's a huge need for people, because that's how you build a tribe, is by having pillars in there to keep you safe. Even if you're the leader of it, a leader of any big group of people has designated people for different jobs. And you should have that in your life. You should have somebody you know that you can confide in if you're feeling scared. You should have someone in there that's going to kick you up the ass because you need motivating. You need someone. I train with you on every time I train with you on a fucking Friday. It's when it's on my own. I get beaten to shit doing my deck squats with my kettlebell, bro.
That was awesome. That was really good.
My fucking head, man. My head was gone. But you see what I mean? I use that because I know I wouldn't want to do that on my own. So I look to someone who I go, right, this dude's going to push me. But I know who's in my group who I'd want for different parts of the story. And I think that's what people don't realize, that they think everything's on their own. You're dumb. If you think you're doing it on your own, you're dumb as fuck. It's not going to happen. You're never going to survive, because you can only take so much load.
And that's just coming back to that, building your tribe and the benefits of that as well. And sometimes it's going to be tough, when the situations come around, like we've just spoken about, where you're going to have to just identify the individual potentially that is just not fitting into with what you kind of think about, what you stand for, and kind of your end goal. If they're sort of lining up together, it's just a bit of a tough one. So, I mean, what are the couple of benefits of building a tribe, a good solid tribe, would you say, from a growth standpoint?
I think it gives you a different viewpoint. Being with people that all have different skill sets, and with people that you can resonate with. I mean, put it in my tribe, the common denominator is perception. The people that I roll about with have got either a growth mindset, or life is good, or they want to enjoy the ride, man. Because forgive me, I've never listened to it. I listened to a podcast that mentioned there's a book that talks. It's not minimalism, but it talks about how insignificant you actually are in the world. Actually, to emotions out of it, like you're one person with whatever. Let's say 100 friends.
Yeah.
Now, but your perception of it is that your world is those 100 friends. Yeah. But in the big scheme of the world, we're very small. As a community,
it's that humbling fact of asking other people what they think of you compared to what you think of yourself.
And that's what I always think to myself, is being in a crowd that wants the best for each other, but also knows where to draw the line of when someone's not pulling their rag. And that's where I'm a big, like, I feel like I like to lead with people, because I like to lead from the front, because it all comes from sport, man. I've had it my whole life. Is my personality is I bring people up and I develop people. I've had that for a long period of time. But the people that I roll about with, they know how to help me when I'm under pressure. That's how I build my team. Is I don't need to ask things.
Yeah.
They know. When shit's getting real, I know someone's going to come and they're going to do this for me, or help me, or they've got my back. I think that communal element of I've got your back is a huge element of picking people up and actually bringing them through the fire, so to speak. Especially at the moment, and there's a lot of people that are sat at home alone. And then we're lucky that we're in an era where most of the time people are on the phone, either doing what we're doing right now, Zooming or Instagram Live, or having access to information. But having someone who's actually got your best interests at heart is probably my my go-to factor for building a personal tribe. And then for a business, it's all about the ethos, man. Do you fit between the lines? You come into my house, we have these set of rules as a team, not my rules. This is the environment you're coming into. You roll with us or you fuck off. That's what, there's no, it's simple. No compromise, no step and go. I'm not asking for your opinion. My team and my group of friends and my crew have these set of values. The question is, do they resonate with you? Yes. Are you prepared to go to the Rachel's rules? And yeah, I agree, Owen, they are Rachel's rules, but are they going to be able to take? And I listen to her 100%. But it's the
always,
same thing, mate. Yeah, always, boss.
What have you?
Yeah.
So dealing with things like creating tribes and communities, and obviously the last 2 or 3 months have been quite tough to maintain relationships because everything is either being just virtually or hypothetically on social media, etc., etc. What have you done to kind of maintain those tight bonds that you've built up over the last couple of months or years, man?
I think it's just, I think it's funny. I think you'll probably be the same as your best friends. You can count them on both your hands, and you don't have to text them every 5 minutes. You'll speak to your best friend that you rolled about with when you were a pup in SA. You probably speak to him once a year, twice a year properly. But every time you see him, nothing changes.
Yeah, totally, man.
That's where I think the gold is there are people that you associate with that I know full well that if it all went shit got real, I know who to call. And I think that's where you'll know the same thing. Is like, I look like that green thing off it, boss. But you see what I mean? And I think like if from a community standpoint is having just a group chat and trying to put something funny out there or positive or put things in there to just give people a glimmer of hope of actually some help, rather than it being there's so much media with doom and gloom. Like I can't even look at the news without saying only thing got pointed to that dude who's been stuck in a well in Bali for 6 days.
Oh, no. I've got to check this out.
This English dude got stuck in a well for 6 days. So you think you've got it bad being stuck at home? This brother's stuck in a well.
And they obviously eventually realised the bloke. Yeah, they got him out there.
Yeah, got him out today. But mate, imagine.
That's something else. Like, yeah,
that is. What's that film where he has to eat his hand? 24 hours or 23 hours? Something like that?
Yeah. 24. Yeah, exactly. He cuts it off. Yeah. You're right.
Carnage.
Yeah. It's. But, I think a big one as well is making the effort. Right, a lot of guys can and just sit around and wait potentially for something to happen. Right, it's we have the luxury of obviously being able to message someone directly right now, and they're going to receive it. And everything's just so instantaneous at the moment, which is the good and the bad of this this era we live in. But I think as you said, at the moment, make your stand if you want on social media or whatever it might be. But I've just rolled through my social media at the moment, and I come off there a very sad person. And it's not to say that it's like you're not respecting the situation at the moment, but I just want to feel good at the moment. We already come off like 2.5, 3 months of a circuit breaker. We need. It's been quite a rough year in that sense. I mean, if there's anything that's going to bring you down, right? It's just like all this the stuff on social media is just it's just too much eventually.
But that comes down to, like you said before last week, about who you following. Yeah. That's massive. Like, what do you consume on a daily basis? Yeah, I think that's when you it's another rabbit hole, man. But I think people are so absorbed by take this situation out of it. This is another level. Like what's happened in the last week has been crazy, but people are absorbed by what others are doing rather than thinking about how far what they're gonna actually achieve, and what are they what are their weaknesses? It's not, weakness isn't a bad thing. No one's good at everything, but what are you working on to better yourself? Most people are swiping, scrolling. Most people are taking an extra half an hour going to the bog because they're sat on the toilet scrolling, rather than, it's
escaping their families.
Escaping. But
that's a good question. Very relative. Sorry to interrupt you there, mate. Do you think that the problem is these days people use social media together to get their news? And I think, it's like, Gary Vaynerchuk puts it in great sense sometimes. I'm a massive fan of Gary V. He says, let's say, hypothetically, 20 years ago, you had a couple sitting at a dinner table, right? And I see this often where I live, not speaking to each other at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the same situation. Now, what's happening is they're sitting at the dinner table, and I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but now they're on their phones, right? So nothing's really changed, though. The underlying factor is that the potentially the communication between the two people is that's what needs to be sorted out. Nothing really to do with the phone, right? And you can sit there all day long, and I'm not trying to defend myself, because I try and make an effort with my wife to try and put down the phone, when we're out and about. And, let's say 10, 20 years ago, people read magazines or they were reading newspapers to get their news. And unfortunately, this day and age, the newspaper is on this little thing we hold in our hands or in our pockets. So the answer is yes, for sure. Yeah. This is where they're getting it from. And I think a lot of people are not taking the time to read informative documents. And then again, what can you believe even in hypothetical documents that professionals have written compared to social media?
It's minefield.
Everything, even if you look at newspapers, journalists, are massively biased to certain things as well. So what you read and what the actual story was is very different often. So man, that is the truth.
Yeah, I think people are quite machine gun-esque when it comes to information. They don't take an objective view on what context is put in, where is it from, who's actually saying it, how is it presented. I mean, a classic one I saw was someone put a thing up about, this is not political, but Eddie Hall and Bjorn Johnson about to do this boxing fight, and about how he disrespected him on the 2017 World's Strongest Man, and he didn't shake his hand. But the video had been edited.
Yeah, they covered it up,
Well, he did it. But that's a prime example of people trying to fuel fire and fuel shit. And I agree with what Kathy's saying. Is he's saying the more social media is often a personal view rather than a fact-based of news. Of course. And
you're following who you want to follow, so you're only going to get that.
Exactly, only that viewpoint. And people have lost the desire to go searching for information. They want it sent to them. I want notifications. I want Apple to put on, Sky News just put on Joe Blogs. Rather than being inquisitive and looking at places where of the information is written. And I think it's a generational thing as well. I think people who are above me and you, my parents get a magazine every week, or The Week, which is like really informative, or newspaper, whatever, because it's very independent. Where now it's all sent to your iPad, but you choose who sends you it. So it's subjective.
But even in saying that, I think the idea of going back in the day, hypothetically, your mother always got the same magazine, right? Because she enjoyed that magazine. So she was still following like one thought of so it's the same thing now. We following what we like and what appeals to us. So that's what's influencing us at the end of the day.
Well, it all comes. You said it's perception of information.
Yeah, I think Owen said a lovely little, managing your inputs, and that's pretty cool, man. Like definitely blocking out time of your schedule for one to get off social media is going to be a must.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree, Mel. It's hard to pick the right news to follow now, because a lot of them have got other objectives or with their information. I totally agree, but I think that's why we do need a broader viewpoint about where we're getting information from. I mean, from a political standpoint, I totally see it. Like, I don't listen to most. I think most of the news, personally, I don't. I'd rather go and search information myself. But from a fitness basis, this problem we have right now is flip the news context to social media. People are following social media to fuel their fitness ambitions, and or emotional ambition, or insert any input you want. Like Owen said, it is managing your inputs and spending. We talked about the Daily Coach. Yeah, that is a different type of input in comparison to reading the Daily Star in the newspaper, even though it's got reasons why we watch Daily Star. I'm not getting those inputs from the Daily Coach, mate.
When you go to that middle page.
Yeah. We're on a building site, boss. But we're getting inspirational or leadership type information that we can apply to our friends, clients, and family, in comparison to, don't get it twisted, big bangers are a good thing, but they're only good for so long. You know what I mean? And they're not offering you anything more than what it is.
I think a lot of it's just not really thought-provoking either, right? Like, we come back to the Daily Coach. I know you guys, if you haven't got onto it, subscribe. And this is I'm not pushing the Daily Coach, but it's a phenomenal email that gets sent out. And then they have a Instagram page as well. And it's just such thought-provoking stuff. And
Steve, if you can get 10 burpees and 10 kg off, mate, tell him I'm in as well, boss.
Excellent.
Put me in, coach.
Yeah. So again, just choosing what you want to read and how much time you want to dedicate to that is all up to you end of the day, and it's going to have a massive impact on you as well, for sure.
Yeah.
So if you want to. If you don't want to focus on positivity, and I think that's something that this world needs at the moment, a lot of positivity. Let's see if there's any good that comes out of all this, man. I'm hoping and praying that that's going to be the case.
Yeah, mate. I don't think it could be. This isn't the apocalypse. As a human race, this is one of the toughest things that I've ever seen in my generation. But my perception of it is it's allowed everybody to have and not condoning any of the negatives of it, whether death, whatever. I'm saying from a time standpoint is 99% of the people that I talk to complain they've never had enough time. They now have time.
Yeah.
So the question is, are you using your time wisely? That's the big one. And are you actually putting it into action to your values? Those are the two that I would say that what's come out of this.
It's a good question.
Amen, brother.
So he's thinking of investing in a life coach, or he has a life coach already.
No, I know him. I coach him.
Okay, cool.
Generally,
yeah.
He's saying is having somebody he's not just one driven. It's having somebody who's it's the difference between a coach and a trainer, man. We talked about this the other week. Is having a coach and a trainer. A coach is bigger than just sets and reps.
Yeah, I think.
And if you're not bigger than sets and reps, you're not a coach.
Too true, man. I used to work in a commercial environment, Virgin Active in Cape Town, back in South Africa, and I've always been quite chatty with my clients, and I think it's that element of building rapport, right? It's a huge part for me. It's one of my kind of philosophies as being a coach, is understanding your client and getting to know them and remembering all the information about all your clients. It's not an easy job, but a very rewarding job at the same time. And often, I would spend kind of 10, maybe 15 minutes of the session chatting to my clients and really hearing them out and kind of, sussing and assessing where they are at the moment and meeting them at that point where they are. And a lot of the trainers would like just think I was just like, what's happening? You got to train them for 60 minutes. And I'd be like, well, okay, you've had your client for how long? And, like, and potentially at times would get, I wouldn't say too friendly with my clients, but, I think a big element of coaching, I know we've kind of moved away from our community aspect, but I think it's important is really, really kind of building a team with your client. That's a massive element of, and retaining that relationship and spending time with it, building it rapport, right? I know you do as well. And
it's what's the bigger picture? That's what my big thing for a person, I like to think my USP is in 6 months' time, you don't need me anymore, but you want to work with me. Yeah. Because I've given you my information, I've given you my time, I've shown you what you need to do. You've developed the work ethic, the drive, the routine, the habits, blah, 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 blah. But you want to have someone in your corner. We all have it, man. Like as a coach, like you've just invested in some more coaching with the big dog, Stu Diplock. Yeah. He knows you like the back of his hand, and you could have gone, and with all due respect, like you're a clever dude, but you want someone to have your back. You bought him because you want to take the element of objectivity out of it, but on the flip of it, you know that when shit's getting real and you've got a lot coming on, someone is looking after your house. And it's the same with everybody. It's not necessarily, like I said, the sets and reps are the total minutia. That is science driven. Read a textbook, learn it, do it. Coaching is the art of applying information in a given standpoint at a certain time for someone to be able to develop and learn from it. And I think, like you said, is you spending the extra half an hour before a Virgin Active session with someone was the difference between you having them for 2 years or 10 minutes. Yeah. And from a business standpoint, you make more money. But as a coaching standpoint, you affect more lives doing it because you give a shit. That's where proof's in the pudding, man. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great point to kind of wrap things up today. It has been a big talk, and I think it could have gone many different ways. And I think we pumped the brakes where we needed to.
Stay down your lane.
Yeah, you have to stay in your lane. That's for sure, man. It's some tough times at the moment, but I trust you have a good evening further. And
my brother.
Once this is all blown over, we can talk about some more positive stuff, hopefully.
I thought you were going to say, let's get on the piss. I was going to say
that as well.
Let's get on the fly, some beers, mate. That's what it's about, boss.
That as well, man. That as well. Okay.
Well, good to see you,
big
man.
Thanks,
Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. If anybody has any questions, ping them over. Like I said, give us some topics to talk about next week. We were quite lucky with content. We had a little bit planned, and this bombshell dropped, so it gave us all sorts of fuel for today. So let's hope there's no more madness next week. Let's try and talk about more positive stuff, I think.
100%, man. William, look after yourself, buddy. Take care.
Good to see you, man.
Cheers,
dude. Ta-ra.